What's up, guys? What's going on? Got another video for you here, covering some rolling stock that I've been working on. I've been very busy with a few projects here, and I've been quite frankly busy outside of work as well. So just a lot of things going on, but I've been able to kind of keep up with some of the projects here. I've been finishing up a lot of cars. I've been buying lots of cars from a friend of mine who's actually stepping out of the hobby. So I was able to look out and get quite a few models, a lot of plain cars, a lot of rare models, tank cars and whatnot, finally getting stocked up on. And I'm just starting to kind of work on them on and off here. Also working on some customer projects. As you guys know, I'm still working on some CSX locomotives and stuff. I won't show any in this video, unfortunately, just because I haven't had enough significant progress on any of the other locomotives done yet that I showed in the last video. So we'll probably have to save that for another video before I can even start showing those again. But for now, what I do have is my rolling stock, and pretty much a lot of interesting little projects here, from ranging from light weathering jobs, heavy weathering jobs, modified cars, stuff like that. So a lot of exciting little projects here. So I'll go ahead and get right into this here. So in the last video I discussed how I was working on some center flow hoppers, the modern plastic pellet cars that I recently purchased from a friend of mine. And all of these are the Walthers cars, and all of them have been upgraded with the Intermountain metal wheels and KD knuckle couplers, so that they all perform better on the tracks. All these have different levels of weathering, modifications like patching. Of course, all of them have safety striping. Some of them have graffiti, and all of them kind of are a little bit more unique. They're not all the same, and some of them are a little bit faded too. So not all of these are the exact same color, which is that kind of variation you see these days. Not every car, or even the ones that are painted the same, the color can be slightly different on these. So that's something I try to focus on with all these as well. The first one I did, though, is this NAHX car, the 580560, and this one got the standard light weathering job with the rusted up trucks, wheels. I added the safety striping. I did the patchwork on the bays there, and like I said, just did some light weathering on this. I also darkened the ribs. You can see they're nicely grimed up. But it's a nice modern car. I did this one off of some prototype photos, but again, you can see it's a very, very light, clean weathering job, so there's honestly not too much I can say about it. Pretty much what you see is what this pretty much looks like. Just a nice, relatively clean car, kind of representing one of the relatively newer, fresh repainted cars, maybe back in like the 2008, 2009, kind of in between that point and then the modern day. So the paint's not too bad on this car. But that's the NAHX car, just a light weathering job on this. Same with the NCIX car here, but this one I try to focus on some of the graffiti tagging. In this particular case, this one had a real good bit of scribble on it, so I tried to add that to the car as well, as you can see. And I don't know if you can notice this, but several of these cars, I tried to put the two kinds of reflective tape on them. So you have the white-red banded tape on the bottom, and then the yellow reflective tape at on the sides of the car, the more modern stuff that we use. That's required on these cars. So it's a neat little thing, a neat little variation, and both the tapes reflect, so that's also pretty cool. But again, a nice, relatively light weathering job on this. It's not too crazy. Just darken the ribs, did the work on the top of the car, on the roof locks, all the truck weathering, underbody weathering, end weathering, all that is done, but just relatively lightly again. And it's the same with these cars as well. The Dow X car here, this one has a little bit of patching, but nothing too crazy. But this is the Dow X 22026, and then I have another Dow X car, the 22028, and again, both of these are about the same. Just different levels of light fading, weathering work. I got the red bay decal stencils on the outlets there. A little bit of graffiti tagging on this one as well, but nothing too crazy. And then I try to do some variations in the roof walk supports, or the roof walk panels here. Just kind of, some of them are swapped out or replaced, and they're really rusting up, you can see. So that's another neat little variation. And then the MLX car here is modeled to be relatively fresh in terms of paint. You can see it's very clean, fresh looking. So I try to do a light gloss coating through the airbrush on this, and then I put the safety striping on it, and then just put a little bit of graffiti on it to, get it to my standards. So I think it looks pretty good, but these are all nice representations of modern ACF, or not ACF, but plastic pellet covered hoppers, and these are all ready to go into service here on my road, hauling plastic pellets for various industries. So those are the hoppers I got done. Okay, so I don't usually do old era rail cars, as you guys know, since I'm a modern modeler, but I did this Penn Central cement hopper for a customer recently who sent this in for weathering work, and I think it came out pretty spiffy, honestly. It's no Lenny Harlos PC patch out, but I think it looks okay. So this is the PC 885265, so I just weathered this one to the best of my ability. I couldn't find prototype photos of this particular car, but knowing how these cars weathered up, I just tried to do the best I could with what photos of similar PC hoppers I could find online, and I just tried to weather it. So lots of light fading work, lots of dry brushing techniques. I got some rust spots on there, and then you can see on the logo and the lettering, you can see the just baby stages of the logos and the stenciling just starting to streak down a little bit on the letters. You can see that whitewash kind of streaking down. Looks pretty cool. I got some rust spots and some patchwork also on this car to kind of add some interest to it. The trucks, of course, are nicely done up. The underbody. On the top here, the top came out pretty good. You can see I added 2 replacement hatches to this car. So that's a neat little variation I think he'll like. On this side here, it's pretty much the same. On this side, though, you can see a little bit better the bleached logos just starting to kind of peel and fade down, and then it's starting to streak a little bit. So you can see that. I think it looks really nice. I'm very happy with that. But this is a car that will be going back here. I'm pretty much ready to go ship this back out now. So this will be heading back out in the mail here this week. But that's the Penn Central car I've been working on, so they'll be hitting the going out the door here. I've also been working on some modern tank cars, keeping up with those. So what I've been working on are some molten sulfur tank cars, and I've been trying to track these 2 cars down forever. These are the TILX paint jobs offered by Walthers on their what is it, the 14K, I believe these are the 14K Sulfur cars. These are really hard to find, and I was able to get these off of my friend. He sold these to me, so I just took these, renumbered them, and then gave these both a light fade, safety striping, some updated stenciling and data. This one in particular I tried to do a little bit differently. You can see this one has the vinyl cover, and then it has a more of a modern hazmat number decal in there. All these have the blue painted bearing caps on them, and then the wheels and trucks are all weathered nicely, and they have the upgraded double shelf couplers like these are supposed to have. This one I tried to also do the sulfur spillage on the top. You guys can see that little detail of the sulfur spillage and just splattering just down the side there. I think it looks pretty good. There's not really too much kick up to speak up on the ends. It's just really kind of starting to streak up a little bit, but you can see the mud's kicking up on there at the ends too. And then pretty much the same on this side. You can see it's just a relatively light weathering on it. Keeping things simple, but still very realistic. So I like this one in particular. This is probably my favorite. And then the TILX, this one, the 135651, again renumbered, lightly weathered, faded down. And then this one has the pretty much the same details added, just like this one does. Only this one's a bit more backdated, so it's an earlier paint scheme. So that looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, I also added the hazmat placards. The Walthers cars don't come with the hazmat placards, and they're supposed to have them, but they don't have them. So I added these. These are custom-made decals. So I added those to both cars. But they're just some nice, lightly weathered modern TILX Sulfur cars ready to go into service here. So I'll go ahead and set these aside real quick. 2 more cars I have here are 23K cars, and these are a bit more heavily weathered. The first one is a UTLX 205431, and this one is heavily faded down. As you can see, it's pretty badly bleached. The black on these cars, especially the older ones, it just really faded down, and then you got gray colored cars like these. So you see a lot of these in Canada and here in America coming in hauling crude oil or ethanol. So I tried to model this one off of some photos. I ended up renumbering this one, faded it down. I got the double set of safety striping on this too, as you can see. The end safety striping is original, and then you got the new band placed beside it, and that's on both sides on each end, which is pretty cool. Some custom tagging here and there, and then I try to do some crude or ethanol spill, just greasy substance running down the side there. So that looks pretty cool. And then on the top, again, you can see around the hatch there, it's all spilled. And then you got some rust just starting on the top here as the tank body corrodes on the top. So that looks really cool. And then on the ends there, you got the kick up. You can see the splatter effects I did. Again, on both ends. Pretty cool. And then on this side, pretty much the same. No graffiti on this side, but again, just the same pretty much weathering on this side as it is on the opposite. But it's a nice modern UTLX car, and I got two of these. This one is the heavier of the two. This next one is a little bit lighter, the 205400 here. So this one's just a little bit lighter of a fade, and then I added the new tread cover on the top there, which is this gray anti-skid coating that they put around the hatches and stuff for crew personnel so they don't slip on the metal. So I painted that on the top, and then of course did the load spill again. Some light rice streaking around the platform, added the safety stripes. Now this car has the replacement wheels, which I tried to add the little inspection or the little tag on the wheel, which is pretty cool. You see this often on the really fresh new wheels. You got the little tags on them, and this is on both wheels as well. But just a nice light fade on this one, keeping things simple but still neat, nice and neatly detailed. But I like it. And then there's the kick up on this end. Pretty much the same on the other side as well. But those are the two UTLX 23K crude oil cars. Those are ready to go into service here. So those look really nice. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some gondolas now, and these were some fun projects. I got a hold of two more of these rare Exactrail COER patch-out guns. The first one is 800-314, and the second one is 800-307 in the back there. And then I also got a TLX gun on the bench, which I'll talk about in a second. But both of these pretty much got prototypical weathering, and then I put the safety striping on them, all the truck weathering, interior weathering, all that's done. All the graffiti is applied and ready to pretty much weathered over. You can see it's kind of starting to fade. I wanted the graffiti on this particular car to look a little bit older. You got a little mud splatter on some of these here and there as well, but not too crazy. Of course, all the kick-ups done on the ends, as you can see there. Weathered the couplers up nicely, the trucks, all that. On this side, again with the focusing on the side and the graffiti, you can see that's really looks nice. Very happy with that. And then again, you can see the mud splatter on the side, and you really see this a lot on the gondolas, like I said. So it's really important to try to model this on, if you do any kind of gondolas, to have some with this kind of splatter effect on the side. Because it's pretty prominent on cars, even if they're not related to scrap metal. I've even seen these on steel cars, or steel coil cars. This can happen sometimes. I'm not sure exactly what causes that, but you see this a lot on the guns, so I had modeled that on these. But that's the side of this one here. And then on this one, again, the nice bit of weathering work done to this. And again, it took me about 2-3 hours to weather per car, so that's about 6-7 hours total on both of these, getting them done. And then here's the side of this one, so you can see it looks very nice. Very happy with that. Now what makes these really cool is these have the steel wire loads inside them, the baled wire loads that these actually carry in real life. So I took some chooch loads, customized them, installed them into the guns, and then weathered them to look like the metal is starting to rust up a little bit in transit here on these cars. So you can see it's really rusty, but it's a nice little load for these cars, and it's prototypical. Also on the interior floor, you can see I added some scrap metal debris as well. Common on these cars, you get that a lot, is the debris. So that's just some relatively well-mixed scrap, various bits and pieces of scrap metal just glued to the floor there, and the same thing on the interior of this car as well. So it's a neat little variation, and really cool looking cars, if I do say so myself. So the TILX car is one I've had for a while to finish this one. This is just one I brought back out of the shelf basically just to update and put the load in as well while I was doing these. So I went ahead and updated the weathering, replaced the striping, updated the graffiti a little bit, did some patchwork to it, and it's pretty much back up to my standards now and ready to go back into service hauling the coiled wire. So yeah, these are some neat little gonds I've been working on. I'm really happy to have gotten my hands on more of these exact real cars. They're really nice.